Hi guys, thanks for joining us again for the second week of ATN Talk. Here, both myself, Tristan, and Dawn Carter hosting, discussing building communities, both using Twitter and Blab as tools for doing that, and ways in which to curate a community within those fields. Every week we'll be jumping in here doing a quick half hour helping people answer questions. So if anyone has any questions, they can tweet using the hashtag ATN Talk at any point in the week, and we'll pick that up during the show. And obviously tweet to us using the handles here, which is at ATW Networking and at Descartes, D-E-C-A-R-T. If you're not watching live here on Blab, to find the shows, it's blab.im/ATW Networking. If you're watching this over on YouTube, you can watch this at the same time every week for half an hour if you wanted to come in and ask questions. And like we said, alternatively, you can send us a tweet using the hashtag ATN Talk. So, yeah, just discussing building communities and how you go about doing that and where to start, I guess, for people who have no idea about building the community, how you go about doing it. And obviously, I mean, Twitter's got a lot of things like there's Twitter talks, chats and things that are on for an hour where they're curated by hashtags. So, I mean, obviously, you're much more versed in that, Dawn, than I am. So maybe you can chime in about kind of Twitter chats and how you can use those to drive people, and kind of not just to building that community, but also giving something back to the community. And a lot of people through these broadcasts, there's kind of a call to action that takes them to do something with it, offering them a newsletter or something like that. So.
Yeah, so great. So first of all, thanks, Tristan, for letting me hop on with you. This is, again, just another example of how great either live streaming or Twitter can be in making connections that matter. It's just really fun to me to meet other people that are passionate about either training or equipping people. Sorry, my dogs. So if they bark, again, live streaming issues. But yeah, so the question you just asked is, so Twitter chats. What are Twitter chats? Why would people even use them? Oh, hi, Lynn. Welcome. So Twitter chats, basically, if you think of it this way, virtual water cooler at a set time, occurs on Twitter using a hashtag to find the other participants. It's usually hosted by a person or a couple of folks, and it's almost always about a specific topic. A lot of good ones out there about marketing and social media, and but more, not just on that business side, but again, Tristan just mentioned there are folks that want to get together and talk about a specific topic that's important to them. Love your community insights. If you're about, oh yeah, yes. Oh, so Brian Fanzo, you just sent a little message about Brian Fanzo, iSocial Fans. Again, one of the best ways to learn how to do this is watch people who do it well. And I would absolutely put Brian Fanzo as one of the ones to watch doing that. So, yeah, so now I don't hear you, Tristan.
Sorry, I was muted because I was typing. Brian Fanzo, they've got quite a team there. So Brian Fanzo, Rachel Taylor, and Kristen Cardo host SB Hour, which is actually now, because of the time changes, on at the same time as our Great in 30 show here on Blab. But they do Blab and Twitter at the same time. And it's the way that they do it is brilliant. I mean, they've been doing it for 2 years, so they're well established. Obviously, it revolves around a hashtag from a Twitter chat originally, and was hosted over on Google Plus, I believe, before it came over here.
Yep,
and
Google Hangouts. Yep.
Yeah, so on Google Hangouts. And they brought it over here, and the Centre community and bringing this together, because obviously this uses your Twitter sign-in. It's it becomes more intuitive that the two go together, because it's a Twitter chat and you log in here using your Twitter as well. So whilst there's cross-pollination across platforms, it was really good to have kind of an easy sign-in for both. So whether you wanted to be more actively involved here live in the show, or if you just wanted to be involved in the tweeting on the side, I think it's been a good thing. And obviously they do it really well in the fact that they have Kristen Cardo, who does a lot of the community management, because when you're doing a live show and you're doing the broadcast, especially when you're doing such a fast-paced show, there's a lot of people in the chat, and so trying to keep on top of that is a thing. So that in itself is now a job role that I guess never used to be, is having people who do community management. And I've just been watching some stuff. Gary Vee talking about the person they introduced on the show from yesterday was actually, he has a random person in the show now, and it's a community manager, and that's a really important job.
Can everyone hear? Okay. Yeah, your audio. Yeah, I can hear you now. Is everyone else? Ed, are you able? Jay, are you able to hear? Audio, okay. Yeah, I can hear you now. It was just kind of coming in and out. But you were saying something about co-host being a new role. Is that what you were saying? Yeah,
well, some more the community management. So dealing with comments and watching bits and pieces, I think it's a role in itself now that it never used to be. And I think that collaboration and working together is really, really a big thing. So finding the people who you work really well with in order to manage your community well. It's one thing getting people together, but being able to manage it and to serve those people the best. Obviously, there's job roles like responding to questions on the side, and also, answering the questions live on the feed and keeping the show flowing as well. And that kind of helps to make it all smooth when you're dealing with any kind of community get together.
Yeah, that's a great point, that if there is a takeaway that you can have for tonight, or today, this is night for me, day for you. But one of the things that is not thought of is it is a lot of multitasking to have to do, especially just watching the community chat alongside. I call that the gallery. I don't even know what that's called, but in the comment section, having either, finding links. Sometimes your person who will be speaking will be will be dropping websites. Well, if you can take the moment while the person who's speaking, and if you're the silent one, you just go run and grab that link, drop it in there. It's going to bring value, right, to the experience. And it's also using the medium as it should be, because this isn't a podcast just one way. There's no interaction. That's the beauty of getting to use Blab, is that you get that interaction. You get to interact. And I see Janet Fouts just joined Mindful Chat. I love it. Love it. Hey. So, we're talking about building Twitter communities, and Janet is someone that you should be talking to because she is someone that I've been learning. Again, I just started my Twitter chat. I've been a student of online communities for about 6 or 7 years. I've participated in different forms of them, so I can see what works and what doesn't work, or what ones fizzled out. But the folks who have been, for instance, hosting Twitter chats for 2-3 years, they've done something excellent, right? Why would that community still be getting together if they weren't providing consistent value? So people like Janet, follow her, find out about when her chat is, and those are things that are pretty fun, I'll say. Yeah,
I mean that's it. The thing with running a community is finding a kind of common thing that people are interested in, and also being able to regularly bring those people together to kind of enjoy that thing together. Whether it's talking about, like she's just said, they did a wine chat, which is great because obviously lots of people discussing that kind of thing and spending time together with that. It's finding something and kind of sticking to it, and that's one of the kind of key takeaways. I think is that a lot of people start these things and they take a little bit of time to build momentum. Probably if you look at what happened with the first SBiz hour, and then you look in 2 years on, and you think, oh look, it's really busy. There's loads of people there and things, and with any of these like chats and these get-togethers, it's going to start and it needs to build momentum, and you just need to keep persisting with it, and working with the people who are involved, staying engaged with the people who are turning up every week and who are supporting you, and sharing the news about what you're doing as well. So really engaging with the people who are there. That level of, this comes back to that whole engagement thing of a really high level of engagement with people who are there, and that then drives them to want to tell other people about it as well. Yep.
And if you think about this, if you're providing consistent content, and I always say with a good Twitter chat, you're going to be providing consistent content, content, or connections. So if one of the biggest values you're bringing is introducing people to other like-minded, like-hearted folks, I think that's pretty amazing. That's a value for some people. Other people are not so much, relationally wired, and they want the content. Yeah, give me my bullet points of my 3 or 5 things, and that's absolutely perfect. I mean, that's fine too. And there are different, obviously there are different formats for bringing a conversation together. I mean, that is, I don't want to assume that everyone's familiar with what the different formats are. So if you want to hear about that type of stuff, go ahead and let us know in the comments, because I will take the direction of the conversation, wherever you guys want to take it. So.
Yeah, I mean, and that's it. I mean, it's with the community and these chats and stuff. Obviously, there is a structure and a reason for the conversation. These ones that we're doing is very much about having a conversation around building a community, how you do it, why you do it.
Right.
People enjoy spending time with like-minded people, which is kind of a really important thing. Like it's good for your well-being as well, spending time with people that you get on with and that you enjoy spending that time with. And whether that's now, a lot of it is spent digitally now. I feel very lucky in the fact that through my job, I get to spend time with people all over the world, and through things like, the periscopes and things like that, people are out and about showing me the world that I might not ever get to see otherwise. So I think that's really, really big. And I mean, even if you look at Periscope and the fact that their event is called the Periscope Community Summit, it's right there in the title that it's about the whole community. It's about all the people involved in it, and it's the same across different platforms. Twitter has its own community. In fact, within Twitter, it has lots of communities within a bigger community, which is really, really interesting to see how people naturally segment themselves into groups. Like in schools, people naturally break into social groups of similar interests. Whether it be, sports or, being very studious, and there's kind of those natural divides, and it's great to see people sharing stuff that they're passionate about and really getting involved in communities.
I love it. So we have a great question actually from Dutch Driver. I don't even know your first name, so I should know, but I don't. And so Dutch, can we call you Dutch if we're looking at someone? So anyway, our friend Dutch has a question about practices for kicking off a new Twitter chat, and I'll let you know that I can teach you from Dutch is fine, awesome. I could teach you what not to do, because I did it. Again, I launched my Twitter chat in June of this year, and one of the practices for kicking off thing is to really remember to promote and to let people know outside of the actual medium that you're going to be in. So if you're going to do a new Twitter chat, of course, schedule, if you've got some kind of software like Sprout Social or something that can schedule in your tweets, go ahead at different times of the day, whenever it's most effective for you, let people know that you are going to be hosting this new Twitter chat. That is one of the things that I did not do enough of. The other thing is to use, and if you have an email list or email community that you are already connected to, let them know. Send an email out. Go, hey, I'm starting this new thing, and let people know with every channel you have. We've tested Facebook ads. We've tested Facebook alone. We have not tested Twitter ads yet. But again, if you're very specific about what you're delivering, you're not going to be blasting it all over. So I don't know if that helps. There was a global conference this week.
Yeah, I mean that's brilliant. I just did so that's a good place to do it, and that's actually a little bit of marketing, and it's something that's kind of right in my realm, because I teach people how to do stuff with minimal budgets, because I'm working with a lot of small businesses. Is can you be at something and add a lot of value? If they're having conversations around things, having your own chat around that topic, if you're adding value to it, or you're engaging in the conversation, that's a really good way to build a community in itself. I mean, I was lucky enough to go to an event called Sid Start, which was a tech startup conference here in Sydney, and obviously that was the hashtag they were using, was Sid Start for the event. And the most tweeted thing from the event was one of our posts, because we understood about how to create because we were using, you know, graphics and text and the right hashtags on top of the event hashtag. So yeah, I mean, I posted something about they were having a conversation around internet security, and I posted 4 images with 3 quotes and a live picture of the room to show people who are outside of it, as well as, you know, for reference to people in the, because there was an expo as well as the actual main room, that people knew what was going on. And by the time we got to, they were the last speaker of the day, and by the time we got to about midnight at the pre-drinks, we'd had like 70, 80 retweets and favorites, and it had got out to, I think it got to about 36,000 impressions, just that one tweet. So it was the right conversation, it was the right time and in the right format. So using a mix of different ways, like Dawn was saying, putting it on different platforms. So if you're having a Twitter chat, tell your Facebook audience, tell your friends, your family, get some people involved, get some people doing it and sharing it, because you don't know who in their groups of friends will be interested. And when they're engaging in your Twitter chat, their audience is seeing them posting that, and they'll say, oh, what's this? You know, just before this, while I was just checking some bits through Twitter, I saw some stuff that was posted in the influencer chat, which wasn't live right then, but some people were putting content in so that next time it was live, it was there for people to see. And so just being aware of the other things that are going on. I know Dawn and I are actually just working on putting together a calendar of a lot of the chat, so that it's in a Google Calendar, so that you'll literally be able to go to it and add it to a calendar if you're interested in that topic. Because obviously each of these chats has their own different topic, you know, influencer marketing, you know, I do ones, we're actually using Blab to do our talk as well. So for a lot of ours, I use hashtags for the shows that we do here, but I actually have a second computer running Twitter, watching the hashtags and things like that. So I can see who's engaging and things. So it's a good way for me to watch the conversation and see how engaged people are. Is the content we're delivering going out well? And we're also a good place to do follow-up. A lot of people might do their hour, and then you might have a lot of stuff that you missed. What do you do outside of that hour? So if you want to build a community, it's not built, you know, Rome wasn't built in a day, they say. So, you know, it takes time, and it's about doing your follow-up as well, and engaging with the people who turned up and bothered to engage during your chat.
Yeah, that's a great point, Tristan. I love the idea that, you know, you think of a Twitter chat occurs 1 time or 2 times a week, and it's a virtual water cooler gathering where you are talking about a specific subject. Well, that subject may be top of mind the other 6 days of the week. So having that hashtag to collect all those other conversations is a really nice place, a nice thing to do, and to dip into that. To, you know, people will have questions afterwards, or people will say, hey, you know, want to follow up on something that I heard there. So I think that's a great idea. Also want to throw out that Janet brought an excellent point, that it's important to invite people that don't just have huge Twitter followings, but that have engaged audiences. That's something that a lot of people don't get. And people think, oh, well, I've got a cajillion Twitter followers, so they must be, you know, very interactive. And then you go look at their feed, and they're not. You know, they're just someone that just either is a retweet stream, and they're never issuing any, content of their own. They're never thanking people. They're not, you know, whatever. So really, really important to not worry about the number of followers that people have. And I think some of my most delightful people are small follower people.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. And this is where people need to go back and look at the analytics side of things. If you're doing this, if you're looking at building something like a community, you need to understand what's working and what's not, and not be looking at vanity metrics. You know, how many likes do I have on Facebook is the really good example. You could have 100,000 people on Facebook, but if you post and no one involves it, it's not good. I mean, there's something that there's a couple of accounts that every time I post, they retweet everything. It's automated, and it's a bad process. But you know, within that is that just, you know, I've got to put out good content. I've got to make sure that mine is there. It does mean that more people might see it, but you know, you need to keep away from those vanity metrics. If you look at, if I put out one tweet at an event and I only had 1,400 people or something at the time on my account, then and I reached 36,000 with one tweet, that in itself shows you that it's not the number of people that you've got following. It's how engaged you can be and how relevant. So I mean, that's another thing with doing, if you're doing Twitter chats and things, is what relevancy can you have to world events, what's going on right now? Australia, just, things like the Melbourne Cup, is there something relevant there? And obviously right now within social media, people are gearing up their marketing for Christmas. How can I create a campaign that revolves around Christmas? Because everyone's already thinking about it. So how can we get in on that conversation? There's no doubt that at some point Christmas is going to hit up on the trends on Twitter. And are you ready to be putting your content in? Is it Christmas ready to go into that feed so that you can make the most of the fact that there's all of these digital eyeballs on there?
Yeah, that's great. I think Craig had mentioned something about there are a lot of hash bomb accounts that are hard to sort out. And so if I'm understanding your comment correctly, Craig, you're saying just people that kind of hijack a hashtag and they'll start to act like they're engaged with you, but they're not, if that's what you're talking about. Absolutely. Yeah, that's... people can sniff that out. There's some people that don't care. There's some people that just like, hey, they created something and it's automated and it sounds good. But I think that being aware of what people are doing or just knowing. I want to find out if we answered Dutch Driver's question. Did we give you enough pointers on starting to start out a Twitter chat? I would say give it time. That was the other thing I was going to point back to is if you're just starting out, give it 6 months. Don't give up before like a 6 month. Just give yourself a stake in the ground. I mean, I had chats where I invited people and I had like one person come, and if you can consistently bring value and if you're excited about, I'm here to bring something that I think is going to help you, and that is translated, that comes across. Just stick with it. Sometimes that one person was who was supposed to hear it. Now, obviously you want it to grow, but never make that one person feel bad. Like, oh, heck, it's only you. I mean, who wants to hear that? It's like, thanks. Yeah. You suck.
Yeah.
You suck.
I don't one of those things. It's same as if you're someone who speaks publicly. If you turn up to an event and there's one person there, you should deliver the exact same message as if you're speaking to the whole of Wembley Stadium, a sold out Wembley Stadium. The message should be exactly the same. The other thing is, especially nowadays, where that one person might go on Periscope and they might have loads of people following. So you don't know how many people are watching it. Is it being videoed and repurposed? How many people are going to see it? And it's the content that you're delivering. It's not just that moment, it's where to go afterwards. And that's where a lot of people become overwhelmed with social, in the fact that they think that they have to constantly be creating lots of new content and they're never repurposing stuff from before, which actually leads me nicely onto Craig again. Hi Craig, thanks for jumping in.
How are you both doing? I wanted to come in and say hi.
Yeah.
I love seeing avatars of people that I have interacted with now. It's just kind of like, it brightens my day to be like, oh wait, I've connected with those people. And I got to say that I never had that feeling before, because you can actually jump on and talk to them live and watch them and see how they're doing. So that's been awesome.
Yeah, and I mean that's it. I mean,
it's a different level.
Yeah,
it's really good. It's a whole different level of community. Obviously, that sending messages backwards and forwards is great, and having that chat, but what better way to do it than actually kind of face to face?
Well, I wanted to share one thing that happened to me just this past week. I've been trying to do a lot of testing so that, number one, I can tell people how to use creating graphics with my tool. And because I'm not the type of person that tells people what to do until I've tried it. Yeah. So I'm trying to actually test things. And one of the things I did was I pulled a quote from Brian Fanzo from a blog and put it in there. He was talking about streaming in general, and posted that to my wall. It just got a couple clicks, six likes and 6 shares, which I think is pretty good, as opposed to 0. So I'm always appreciative of those. But, I noticed one of the people that followed me right after that was actually the CEO and president of a company called Proforma, that's been around since 1978 and is a branding, from what I understand, it's a branding juggernaut with lots of franchises.
Yeah.
And it was just really cool to, like, he only had, I think, 100 people following him. He was only following 60 people. Yeah. But I'm assuming that company has, is a very, lucrative company that focuses on branding. And it was just a neat little passive interaction like what you were just talking about that wouldn't have happened if I hadn't lifted Brian up. So I thought that was kind of cool.
That's a great point, Craig. I mean, the follower counts they don't tell you everything. I think that's where we get sidetracked. And you think about, look at what you did. Please analyze what you just did. You lifted Brian up. You created some shareable nugget, right? Some kind of tweetable thing. And then it's something that even if you had 6 people that either retweeted it or favored it, hearted it, whatever, that is something that you somehow interacted. You got engagement with those people. And so how much more likely as your brand or as you give other content, are they going to be, inclined to listen to you? Because you just served them. Right? You served Brian, but you also served them.
Yeah,
I think that's just
I've been
great.
thinking a lot about my own brand and why I'm doing what I'm doing, Dawn. And I think I've kind of really focused in on this idea of lifting peers and customers up through testimonials and insights and education. And I want my brand to be known for that beyond just creating quotables. And a lot of people have been asking me, well, are you going to create a mobile version of this and all this different stuff? And I think I've just really identified that one of the taglines that I've come up with, I'm still working on this, right? But one of them is share moments worth 1,000 words. And, I have all this list of things, and really what I feel myself being pulled towards is this idea of coming back around with just collecting followers, which I think is the advice that I've gotten this past year from most of the people I listen to. And I don't think it's really a backlash, but I feel like people are moving more into how can I use social media to go deeper with people, and how can I post something that makes a connection that is deeper than going to a networking event or just following people or just auto refollowing them or DMing them. Like, I'm not an expert in this field, but I've just been very observant of what people are doing. And, people like you, both of you, are kind of leading that charge of educating people. And I'm just kind of picking up the little nuggets that you guys are dropping. So I appreciate you doing this. And that's been awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I love that whole idea of, I view connection as a continuum. You've got like the casual, oh, hi, that kind of thing. And then as you move along with trust and time, usually they're axes, you've got trust increases as time, goes on, but video accelerates. But so I think that when you are able to connect at a deeper level, if people are, for instance, hey, I've been a part of a Twitter chat with folks for a long time. That's why having the after party moved into Blab is so fun, because, oh my gosh, I've known you at this level, and I feel like this video has just moved us incrementally along that continuum. And I've seen that. And then getting to meet in real life gets to even move you even further. So
and it's really important to keep that flowing as well, so that it doesn't, because if you stop that, you then it drops back and you have to carry on and start again.
One of the questions I wanted to ask real quick was, I was asking this earlier. I thought it'd be easier just to ask in person. I've been trying to figure out what to do with all my business accounts, because I just don't have the bandwidth to manage them all. And there's 2 problems. One is I'm trying to get ahead of the content, because as days go by, even if you were to start adding daily content, I just don't have enough stuff to put in there right now. Yeah. And then the second is, I'm trying to understand where I stand personally, not morally or anything, but where do I stand personally of using hashtags and automating a business account where maybe people aren't expecting me to interact as much as a personal account. And because it is very tempting to go in, and I haven't used any tools to do this yet, but I know that I think Sprout Social or Buzz, whatever it is, like I haven't used any of this stuff, but right now, to be honest with you, we're building in features that would allow people to do this. I'm trying to figure out where I stand of allowing people to schedule something out and then rebump that post. So while I have both of your brains in the room, I'd love to get your feedback, how you feel about that on more of a engagement level, and if that would be a bad idea to go down that route and build a feature like that.
So I think it's really a good thing. Like I was saying, people are overwhelmed with having to create too much content. If you put out some really good content, it might be that if I was to post, if I create a graphic, put them out, I actually schedule my stuff to repost at different times, because there's an American audience, there's a UK audience, there's an Australian audience, and they're all different time zones. So I could post the same content out 3 times. If I go, right, this is a really important piece of information for people to get during lunchtime. Lunchtime is different all over the world. So if I post it out on Australian lunchtime, it's not UK lunchtime. And so, and the same as that's kind of within a 1 day or like a 48 hour, because obviously around the world, time frame. But you've got, what if I post something today, like the post that I put out that I got the 36,000 reach on from the thing, from the event I was at, is something that I will definitely repurpose, because it's a really good case study for me to say this tweet, so I can take the tweet link and retweet it and say, here's an example that you don't need a big following to have a big impact. So now it's a new piece of content. I didn't know when I posted that it's going to be a piece of content that later I use as a case study and an example, but now I can say, repost it. And if it's valuable stuff that you're sharing, it's not like reusing it. There's not a problem. It's just making sure that there's enough content between. So like, it's not just posting the same thing all the time. Like I do, like I might post the same, I do some stuff with Alex Pettit around, like, post a show around Periscope tips. I've been doing some bits with shows with one here, and he'll do a show and I'll break it down into like, tidbits, and I'll put out graphics for it and some tweets, but I create them all in one go. And then what I do is I'll schedule some to go out now, some in a couple of hours, some there, and then I'll repurpose them in 3 days, because not everyone's online every day either. People who are overwhelmed by social sometimes don't go on every day. Like, oh, I didn't check my Facebook today, or they get home at night and then they check their Facebook because they've been so busy. So putting the content out at different times is definitely, like, repurposing is definitely a good thing. And also, especially if they're watching the metrics of something that's done really well, why wouldn't you reshare it? If it did well the first time, it might be that another audience sees it at a different time of day. Did I post that at 10 o'clock in the morning? Okay, well, what would 10 o'clock in the morning be in another country? Let's see if they respond the same way when it goes out, and looking at that. It's good for split testing as well to find out. So
I definitely want to hear Don's advice on this too, but if I'm understanding what you're saying, be intentional with content that would only be seen, the likelihood of it only being seen once by any particular party, versus going in and just bombing something every hour. Or I call it hashtag bombing, but basically going in there and obliterating your feed with automation, where you end up with like 30,000 posts. That could definitely grow your following, but in the end, they're not going to have much engagement. So it almost seems like what I could create would be, or how I would use this as well, because I'm trying to eat my own dog food. So I could create a post that automatically trickles down across time zones, and you would set it here, and then as the time zones come around, it would hit those time zones. That would be kind of cool. Yeah. But then also what you're saying is, schedule those out to not. It seems like there's like a breaking point where you've gone from intentional scheduling on into spamming and just like, diluting your Twitter feed. Is that kind of what you're saying?
I think you need to be intentional every time you post. You shouldn't just be posting for the sake of posting, and that's where a lot of people do, because they become overwhelmed. They go from not being able to do it to finding a tool where you can schedule, and they just go, "Oh, I'll just keep throwing the same stuff up because it means I don't have to find anything else." it needs to be with a purpose. I mean, when I repost stuff, I repost with a different story. You know, it might be a graphic that's a one-line quote, but can that one-line quote give you a lead on to a different story? So can I tell a different story each time I post it? So if I post 3 times, if you saw it today and then I posted it in 3 days and you saw it again, you'd go, hold on, I think I've seen that graphic, but the story is different that goes with it. So the content has changed slightly just by how I'm posting it. So being intentional about how you're doing that, I think, is really important, because obviously the last thing you want to do is feel like you're spamming the community.
So like someone said over there, so authenticity and evergreen content maybe, and then creating variety. Like, are those kind of the 3 pillars, or like the trinity of things that you would want to like put I'm trying to like make all this stuff up as I go, but you know,
you need to be intentional and authentic at all times. Like you should never post something for the sake of posting, and in the same way, the number of people who post stuff that they haven't read, this looks good, it came from a reliable source, I'll post it. How do you know that they haven't just pulled a fast one? If it's April the 1st or something, they could have just written some random post and given it a nice title and a nice image to see how many people reshared it. You don't know, so always be intentional about and know what you're posting. And also, if you're posting and reposting stuff, remember that you're aligning your brand with those people. So the really good, like most recent example that we're looking at is Volkswagen getting in a lot of trouble for lying about emissions. You know, and if you were aligned with them, there's a rub-off effect on your brand as well. That you've been heavily in. Obviously, everybody was unaware, so it's less likely there would be a backlash for you. However, you now need to be aware of that. So if it's not your content that you're sharing, also be aware of that. And it also, if you're sharing people's blogs, what if they take their blog down and you've got stuff scared to go up?
Yeah. As someone that's going through this, it's just so hard. Like it's to create the schedule. It almost seems to me like, I haven't done this, but it seems to me like you would want to create an Excel spreadsheet, load it up with 50 articles that are in line with your brand, then add, like, if you're not creating your own content, of course, but load up 50 articles that are in line with your brand, and then create these graphic/text lead magnets with a sprinkling of hashtags, and kind of that is how you align a Twitter feed. Is that what people are doing? I'm just trying to get my head wrapped around the best practice for this.
I'm going to let Dawn chime in because I feel like I've talked a lot, and then I'll keep my thoughts afterwards.
Sorry, I hope I'm not monopolizing the conversation.
No. In fact, we've got people like Stephen Caggiano, and we've got Janet Fouts, who I'm sure could add some tremendous insights into this as well. So I'll just throw my little 2 cents in there. I've heard of formulas, like 3, 2, 1. You want to put 3 pieces of somebody else's content, 2 of your own, and 1. I mean, so you hear little tools like that you can use. I mean, it really depends on who you're trying to reach. I mean, I just wanted to backtrack a little bit to the automation. Before I even started my chat, we did an analysis of who are Twubs' customers, and I saw that half of our customers were in Europe and half of them were in the United States. So that meant that I needed to be posting content that is going to be bringing value to my European, we've got 8 hours ahead from California, as opposed to, so then I can put content up while these people are sleeping. I'm not spamming them because, unless you've got people that are up all hours, the chances are they're not going to see it. The other thing too is that we think sometimes that we're spamming people, but the likelihood of our tweet hitting exactly, unless you're using a hashtag, of hitting that person when they're on is really small. I mean, we really do not, I think we always think, I keep saying this a lot. And when in reality, if you're consumers or the people you're communicating with are not on at that exact time, if you don't have the analytics to know when they jump on.
It seems like some of the people monetizing the most are shameless about this, and they just don't care. And they're just like, I'm going to put as much stuff in. And I think I totally agree with you looking at this from the outside, that it feels like it feels very much like spamming, especially when you're doing stuff that you think may be adding value, but in a way might add value to you. And so I've been trying to do everything like totally unselfishly. So like when I put up these quotes, I don't put, in our link, or anything like that on the graphic, because that to me kind of takes it more into, well, why is he really doing this? Is he doing it to, put his .com in there, or is he really trying to lift people up? So
Right.
I've been trying to find that balance of, I think, is it Janet said that, it's like the 80-20 rule that I've kind of heard before, but haven't executed. I think for me, it's been about scheduling out that pipeline, and then like, what do you use, Dawn? Do you use Sprout Social, or is
Sprout
that like
Social.
is that the go-to right now? Because I've heard of different tools that people use.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think, I use Sprout Social just because it's so flippin' easy. So, so Sprout Social. And the other thing I've heard people too, even podcasters, a strategy they do is that they shoot all their podcasts on one day and then they slice it up, and then, so it's like one morning you do it. So for me, that's like, Monday mornings or whatever. That's when I parse out all that content, and then in between I can, I'll dip in and out, and we also have an intern that helps with that as well. So. But yeah, I'm thinking poor Tristan is I think he wants to hop off because we're supposed to keep this to a half hour, so we've already gone more.
I'm actually just getting a new link for you guys for the next week's show. That's all what I was actually doing. So.
Sorry, I didn't know it was a show. Otherwise, I would have been more brief.
No. Oh my gosh, Craig, you're asking the exact questions because these are our pain points, right? How do I, one person, keep up with this content flow? How do I get that balance between wanting to be generous and give before I ask without being self-promoting and slimy? I think that the pendulum can swing too far. It's like I produced a Twitter chat for marketers calendar, but it says at the bottom, all it says is produced by your friends at Twubs. That was it. It wasn't slimy. It had value, but it's okay to say where that was I didn't feel like that was slimy. Some people may disagree, but I didn't think that was in your face, whatever.
Yeah. When we interacted on one of the, on your Twitter chat, I was like totally on board. And then you're like, we've been doing this for 2 years. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't add another thing to my list to manage, but it sounded like it was an awesome way to do it. I think for people like me that are just kind of starting out in this space, it's really hard to kind of get your head wrapped around of all the different things that are possible, and just kind of picking your thing that you're gonna, like, your go-to thing. So,
Right.
So I always appreciate the feedback that you guys have been giving me. Thank you.
Thank you. And if I can just throw one more thing, Craig, is find someone who is an avid, rabid Relay That user, like just loves your product, and elicit their help and say, you know what, would you want to host? Because maybe you don't have the bandwidth, but maybe they do. And, if you can never do this stuff alone. And so that would be my suggestion, is to find someone who would be doing it just for fun because they love the tool,
Yeah,
then
that's always it's perfect example, but it's always hard for me to ask because I always feel slimy asking people to help me. Like, I always feel like there has to be a monetary exchange of some sort. So I'm still.
Well, there may be, there may be for some people, as long as they're open with it, as long as they say, hey, I'm being paid to do this. But if you pull together a team of people that love and are passionate about some cool techie thing, you'd be surprised at how non-slimy that feels. To say, hey, you know what? You've had a lot of value from this tool. Would you mind sharing with our community how you find value? It's like, who doesn't want to share?
If people become really passionate about things, if you think about, take Apple as an example, how many people who have an Apple product, Apple's not paying them. How many people go, hey, have you checked out the iPhone 6 Plus? They find, like, they go and do that if they feel that that's something that's valuable to, because I'm adding value to my friends by saying this is a good phone for you to use. So actually, I'm doing something good for them, but I'm also obviously doing something for the company as well. So
that's an awesome example. I just finished watching the Back to the Future documentary, and just that's part of having raving fans, I guess, is that they just want to be a part of something and help to make the thing that they love better. And maybe I just need to put that down as a reminder to myself that I shouldn't feel bad about people, like, advancing something that they're passionate about. So that I appreciate that.
Go watch the documentary on Sriracha. It's on Netflix and it's free. It's only 34 minutes, and it is the best example of an impassioned community about something. You're just like, how random, it's hot sauce. And that you can pull those ideas from, documentaries that are produced by rabid fans. Excellent. We can learn a lot from them.
I love documentaries. One of my favorites is King of Kong, which is all about the rise of the 80s rock stars that played the Donkey Kong and Pac-Man. So if you like those, check those out too.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Cool.
Okay, thanks, Tristan.
I'm gonna
nice to see you.
I'm gonna wrap this one up. The link is there in the chat for anyone who wanted to join. Thanks for everyone for jumping in, getting involved in the chat. Thanks, Craig, for jumping in and asking some great questions, and to Dawn for co-hosting with me here. If you wanted to connect with us, obviously you can use our handles, which is at ATW Networking or at Descartes, DECART. You can also tweet us using the hashtag ATN Talk at any point during the week, and we'll monitor that hashtag and try to answer any questions there. It's the same time every week, around about half an hour, 45 minutes, depending on the conversation. And yeah, it's also available for replay through YouTube. So if you're following the hashtag, we'll repost it out through that hashtag on Twitter. So thanks a lot for everyone who joined, and we look forward to seeing you again. Same time, same place,